This content is AI generated for informational purposes only and should not be directly used for clinical decision-making.
Hello and welcome back to the Neurosurgery Hub podcast. I'm Dr. Aris, Senior Attending Neurosurgeon.
And I'm Dr. Alara, Research Fellow. Today we're looking at a fascinating new study from the journal World Neurosurgery, published in 2026, titled Malignant Middle Cerebral Artery Infarction Decompressive Craniectomy Score, a prognostic model for malignant middle cerebral artery infarction patients treated with decompressive craniectomy.
This is a topic that hits home for anyone who has spent a night on call in the neuro ICU. Malignant middle cerebral artery infarction, or MMAI, is one of the most challenging scenarios we face. Ilara, for our residents listening, how does the paper define the pathophysiology of MMAI?
The study describes MMAI as a severe condition characterized by space-occupying brain edema resulting from ischemia. As we know, that edema leads to increased intracranial pressure and eventually herniation if not managed aggressively.
Exactly. And the standard surgical intervention here is the decompressive hemicraniectomy, or DC. The authors acknowledge that DC is known to improve outcomes, specifically in terms of mortality, but they highlight a very significant catch in the current literature. What was the primary motivation for this study?
The authors point out a major clinical dilemma. While DC improves survival, many of those survivors are left with lasting disabilities. As clinicians, we often find ourselves in difficult conversations with families where we can promise survival, but we struggle to predict the functional quality of that survival. Currently, as the paper states, tools to predict outcome are lacking.
That's the crux of it. We are operating in a bit of a vacuum when it comes to evidence-based prognostication at the bedside. So the authors aimed to change that. What was their specific objective?
They set out to identify independent predictors of outcome, specifically following DC and MMAI patients. Their goal wasn't just to find statistical correlations, but to synthesize them into what they call a pragmatic bedside tool for patient prognostication. They've named it the MMAI DC score.
Pragmatic is the key word there. When you're in the ER at 3 a.m. deciding whether to take a patient for a massive craniectomy, you don't need a complex algorithm that takes hours to calculate. You need something you can use right then and there. Based on the abstract, the focus is really on bridging that gap between surgical survival and functional recovery.
Right, and the study emphasizes that identifying these independent predictors is the first step toward better patient selection, and perhaps more importantly, better communication with families regarding expectations.
It's interesting because the paper specifically looks at patients who have already been treated with BC or are being considered for it. It shifts the conversation from, should we do the surgery to save the life, to, what does the life look like after the surgery?
Exactly. By creating a prognostic model, they are trying to bring some objective data to a decision-making process that has historically been quite subjective or based on broad clinical gut feelings.
For the residents and students listening, why is a prognostic model like this so vital in neurosurgery?
Well, because MMAI has such a high morbidity rate, we need to be able to stratify patients. If we can identify which factors independently lead to a poor outcome despite a successful decompression, we can provide a much more nuanced recommendation. The paper is really aiming to provide a structured way to look at space-occupying brain edema and its long-term consequences.
It's a significant step forward. We've known for years that DC works for survival, but the lasting disabilities mentioned in the abstract are the real hurdle. If the MMAI DC score can accurately predict those outcomes at the bedside, it becomes an essential tool in our surgical armamentarium.
Definitely. It moves us toward a more personalized approach to neurocritical care.
Well, that's a great overview of the rationale behind this new prognostic tool. As this score gets integrated into clinical practice, it will be interesting to see how it shapes our surgical decision-making.
Agreed. It's all about giving our patients and their families the clearest picture possible during a devastating event.
Thank you for joining us today on the Neurosurgery Hub podcast. I'm Dr. Aris.
And I'm Dr. Alara. We'll see you in the next episode.